live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gentleman of Crypto, episode 1314. Today is Friday, March 21st, 2025, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto, most days, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. ish. Today's top stories: Trump becomes first U.S. sitting president to speak at a crypto conference. Eric Trump joins MetaPlanet Strategic Board of Advisors. SEC says proof of work mining does not constitute securities dealing. And inside eccentric Ripple founders' multi-billion-dollar space station plan and more. But first and foremost, of course, let's go ahead and take a quick look at today's prices. And oh yeah, Bitcoin is looking as healthy as ever, coming in at $83,814, down 2.79%. Ethereum at $1,942, down 2.57%. Ripple at number 4 at $2.37, down 5.4%. BNB at number 5, $634, up 1.4%. Number 6, Solana at $126, down 3.65%. Cardano at number 8, 70 cent, down 4.47%. Number 9, Dogecoin at 16 cent. What happened to Doge to a dollar? Down 3.93%. And 10, Tron at 23 cent, up 1.38%. Fear and Greed Index has increased again. We are now up to 27 in altcoin season. 21 of 100, Bitcoin dominant 60.7, and Ethereum 88.6. And those are your prices on the day. There you go. The markets are alive and well. A lot of sideways movement. I mean, this is great. Sideways movement at 83,000, 85,000. You can't go wrong right there. If that's going to be our local low, then that means the next high will push beyond the 108,000 mark we had last time. So again, it is all well in Bitcoin and crypto news right now. All right, really quick, let me get some shout outs to the chat. Super Mario, Satoshi Slim, Jump Out Girls, Alipio, Birdtown Music Group, JB, Marcellus Love, Wisdom Bars, Crypto Night Train, Shanti Edwards. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's go ahead and roll into this top story of the day. I mean, I guess this is a Trump cycle right now, right? A Trump crypto cycle. Never thought I'd see this, especially after he himself in his first term was essentially like, Bitcoin, whatever. I'm not really thinking about that. But Trump becomes first U.S. sitting president to speak at a crypto conference. That's right. I think we all know how exciting it is to have any government leader at any type of conference, right? Especially older government leaders that those have already been in office. You talk about presidents or ex-presidents speaking at conferences and stuff, how much news that attracts. But to see an actual sitting president go to a crypto conference says it all. I mean, for that crypto conference, applause to them because I know they went up after this. But Trump's comments to the Blockworks Digital Asset Summit are the first time a sitting U.S. president has addressed a crypto conference. That's right. He is aligning his administration with the crypto industry. That's Donald Trump. On March 20th, he addressed a community conference for the first time since being elected. Speaking at the Blockworks Digital Asset Summit on March 20th, in a pre-recorded statement, Trump reiterated that the U.S. would take steps to ensure it is the crypto capital of the world. Okay, so essentially they paid him for a cameo. I'm not mad at it. At least they had the rights to use it, and even though it was a pre-recorded statement, it was still played at this conference. So okay, I was about to say, I know it was gonna like this was gonna be an even bigger deal if he was actually at the conference on stage speaking. That's why I was like, I clicked on this article when I saw it, but a pre-recorded statement, y'all got me. Y'all got me and everybody else who attended. I'm not mad though. The president lauded that the recent regulatory shift in the crypto industry over the previous administration and added, pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, security, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth. I mean, hey, I would say this, even though he wasn't there, if this talking point, if he really means it, you got to give it a hand clap. Got to give it a hand clap because that is all we were looking for to begin with. We're to be innovative pioneers, change the banking and payment system, promote privacy, promote safety, promote security, promote wealth for American consumers. And the last administration did the opposite of that when it came to crypto, for sure, for sure. I'm not going to talk about nothing else politically, but when it came to crypto, the Biden administration was no friend. Okay. Not only that, not to go on that whole rant, but again, you got to remember the banks and payment systems went after Trump at the same time the FBI and everyone else did. So to him, this makes him happy, I think, deep down to see the banks either get displaced or have to essentially modernize itself to keep up with the crypto crowd. So I'm happy to see Again, even though he wasn't there, this was his talking point, and he's reiterating it to the crypto crowd. Again, I kind of figured he. I mean, I'm not gonna say I figured. It's not catching me off guard that he's not there because this would have been even a bigger story. But to even lend some talking points, I think is a big win. And I do think before the end of his administration, the end of these 4 years, I think he will physically go to a conference, right? If Bitcoin hits a high enough all-time high, and there's a big enough conference happening at the same time, I think he will go. Let Bitcoin hit $200,000. We get a bunch of ETFs and whatever else. Could be 2 or 3 years from now, but let it hit 200K. The market's going bonkers, and everyone's thanking him. He will show up to a conference in person. I'm telling you right now, it'll be the biggest thing. Whatever conference that is, they will have the most juice for the next 3 or 4 years before they run out of steam. But I do think it eventually will happen. I'm not gonna go more into this article as I'm scrolling. I'm seeing it's just kind of going back over some of the old talking points the White House has already said. Folks were kind of split, of course, as far as him being at the actual summit or whatever it says here. Bo Hines, executive director of the Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, said that a stablecoin bill will likely be presented to President Trump in the next 2 months. Something we saw happening already, either it being a stablecoin or CBDC coming out of the United States. Well, it looks like they're ready to push that forward. So again, it's pretty cool to see. He had a talking point already set up, so it wasn't live, but I'm happy to see it. Institutional investors and executives tended to characterize the historical nature of the event as a net positive for the industry, while retail investors in the Bitcoin community tended to view the event as underwhelming. And again, I can see why it's underwhelming because everybody's like, "Oh, y'all just got a pre-recorded talking point, man. That's literally a cameo. You could pay uh rappers, entertainers, and artists to give you a quick shout out for $5,000, $10,000." So it's not really doing that much as it is a marketing play, especially since he didn't say anything conference specific. He more or less just gave out those regurgitated talking points. But I still think it's a net win for the crypto industry because it wasn't like you would have got the last administration to even do a talking point, nor if this last administration essentially continued on where we've been hearing anything positive. So again, to even say, hey, yeah, use my talking points, use a pre-recorded video of me at your conference, I think this is a good thing. It says here, quote, the White House Crypto Summit is a gathering of rent-seeking lobbyists pushing state-approved surveillance tokens, Bitcoin maximalist Justin Belcher wrote in the X post. I mean, I've essentially said that as well. When you all are asking about the first White House summit, and I saw, or the White House summit, if I was going to go and I saw the names on it, I was like, well, these are the same names that were in the New York agreement that essentially tried to fork Bitcoin off into a corporate Bitcoin. So I already knew, yeah, it's a bunch of rent-seeking lobbyists. In layman terms, a bunch of people who need their bills paid and they're looking for Daddy Trump or Daddy government to do it. And that's like it's a big circle jerk. It's like I always say, it's a big circle jerk of people who are just going to echo whoever the most powerful person in the room says, right? So the most powerful person in the room says we need to jump off a cliff, now make crypto rise. I expect everyone else in that circle and group like, yeah, we jump off cliffs, crypto rise. Yeah. Like, so essentially, I get what this person's saying. I do agree that's probably more or less likely what it was, but you got to start somewhere, right? You have to remember this wouldn't even been a possibility years ago. The White House wouldn't have had a summit. They wouldn't have been making talking points. Everything would have been anti and negative. So I'm not going to be the person right now to get to picking apart every little thing. Will say, "Oh, this isn't right, or this is wrong," or just a bunch of people trying to get their bills paid and their projects pushed through, which is why they're just yaying everything you saying yes, sir. And it like, of course, that goes along with the territory. Unfortunately, that's more of a culture issue than it is a crypto issue. A bunch of adults being yes men and women, right? That's more of a cultural issue. So I'm not going to knock what's been going on because to me, so far, this administration hasn't made any crypto mistakes in my eyes, right? To me, they haven't made any crypto mistakes. Now, let me be clear, not saying they're not doing any wrongdoing. You talk about the launching of a meme coin. Next, I'll be talking about his son, Eric Trump, becoming an advisor of a company, even though that is like a huge conflict of interest. So I'm not saying there's like no wrongdoing happening or like, but as far as like for the overall retail investor, it's open seasons, open borders. Create what you want, trade what you want, swap what you want, do this, do that. SEC's rolling back where they think about proof of work. We'll talk about that here in a moment. So, as far as it just being crypto, let me be clear about that. Just being crypto, I haven't seen a lot of mistakes being made. I've seen, if anything, more freedom, even more than what I saw along the likes of 2016, because 2016, it was still a mystery, right? It was still this big gray area. So it wasn't really a yes or a no. And then after that, we started going into, well, it was Trump first. So it still was like a large gray area for the most part. But after the ICO thing happened, you saw the SEC pound down on the STOs and try to switch regulation there. And then when the next administration came in, it was just nonstop. We're going to destroy, slow down, and kill this thing. So again, I'm not seeing that same type of rhetoric or those same types of moves being made. So it's a net positive for the industry, especially small businesses and retail investors in the industry. Like just seeing how people are bouncing back this year says a lot. So again, it's a win for the crypto crowd. Now I say all that to go on to the next story where again, I'm not saying I'm not seeing a lot of mistakes, not to say I'm not seeing a lot of wrongdoing, right? A lot of negativity. Eric Trump joins Meta Planet's strategic board of advisors. Get out of here. US President Donald Trump's son, Eric, has been named the first member of Meta Planet's strategic board of advisors, established to further the firm's Bitcoin adoption aspirations. So to me, and I guess if he sees me in person, maybe he'll have the same smoke he had for Stephen A. But to me, this is the same as saying, hey, you have a basketball team. You can pick whoever you want out there, and you say, well, I'm going to pick our best player's son. It's like, wait. You know, there are other good players, even though they're not related to him. You know, there's other good players way better than this guy's son. And everyone says, no, with our first pick, we're going to take his son. All right. Like that's essentially what's happening right here. And shout out to Bronny James. Seriously. No. But that's all this is happening. Like, how do you start a crypto company and with your first choice as an advisor, you say, well, no, I'm not going to get these developers over here. I'm not going to get these millionaires and billionaires over here. I'm not going to get these subject matters experts over here. I'm going to get the president's son as my number one pick. Like, let's be clear, not a bad number one pick when you talk about value add from the family. Okay, I get it. But as far as saying I'm a serious crypto project, we have a serious team, and this is what we're going to do. I already don't believe it. It looks like you're setting up a rug pull because why would you put him as your number one advisor? All right. And no, not saying anything negative about Eric Trump at this point, being in and out of the White House, and I'm sure meeting a ton of subject matter experts in every field. I am sure he does have the knowledge to at least on a social front really push a project, right? To really say I can get people to listen to me, Twitter accounts, and all of those stuff. I get it. But as far as actually being a subject matter expert, which you hire advisors for, I'm just not seeing this being your number one pick. But again, this is how the game is played. Nepotism all the way. We're getting more into that as time goes on. Unashamedly, it looks like as well. And this is no different. US President Donald Trump's son, Eric, has been named the first member of Meta Planet Strategic Board of Advisors. And what I call the latest move and this revolving door of people in and out of politics as well as crypto companies. While Eric Trump hasn't done it again, this is a big conflict of interest to have a sitting president with the meme coin, wife has a meme coin, you have crypto and all this other rhetoric, and then you have your son going to work for this very company. I mean, that's essentially saying you have like a gas and energy debate. All right, I'll look at Biden. This is why it's like you can't even play political with it. You have a gas and energy debate, and then you put your son, whatever, Hunter Biden or whatever, you send him over to Ukraine and get this energy popping. Let's get these electric cars going shipped over to the US, right? So it's not like he's doing anything totally different as the last administration. They're all in on it. But it's just one of those things where it definitely makes you raise an eyebrow where it's like, wait, his son's getting like, how much did he get paid to be the strategic advisor? A, and B, I mean, and again, I know this isn't going to get like, I know this wouldn't go to any type of judge or prosecutor's office or anything. Like, it won't have any legal ramifications. But if it did have legal ramifications, I say it won't have legal ramifications because, like, I don't think any legal body is going to come up to Trump and say there's a conflict of interest between your son making money working for a crypto company and your current rules. I just don't see them winning that argument, even though that is a legitimate argument. But again, it's just one of those things where it's kind of crazy because how does this money thing work, right? Let's say he got $1 million to be the strategic advisor on a low end. I'm sure it's probably more than a million, but let's just say it was a million. Does any of that money go to his family? Does any of it go to his father? Right? If any of that's commingled, does it automatically become a thing where it's like, no, 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 it was supposed to go to his son, but some of that money reached a US president from a private company. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, how does this commingling of funds work? Or does it work where he's literally, like I said, the Hunter Biden thing, where the president's like, well, I didn't touch that money. That was my son's money. And it's like, really? Like, all like a couple million just for being like, So again, it can get super convoluted. I don't think anything is going to come from it only because his dad is on the sitting administration right now. So any type of legal ramifications, I'm sure they'll squash that like overnight. But it does raise a big eyebrow of conflict of interest. You have this sitting president who has nonstop talked crypto and even made a recorded statement, as we just saw at a crypto conference. We now have his son advising for companies. Biggest conflict, especially this. This is going to be the biggest. I don't even know the word. This would be the biggest tell right here. That's if Metaplanet, they'll smart their way out. If they're smart, they'll say, "Hey, we're losing money in the first 4 years. As soon as the Trumps are out of office, is when we make a lot of money all of a sudden, right? If they're smart. If they're dumb and don't care as much, most of these criminals in the government have been, I think in the next year or so, we may see Metaplanet take off as one of the biggest crypto companies out there, or at least have the biggest war chest of assets. And then it's going to ask, the question will come up with like, well, how did this happen? How were you all able to do so much in 1 year, get so much licenses, so much compliance pushed through, and everything else when no one else could in the same time frame? It's gonna be like, oh, we forgot Eric Trump is on your board. I wonder how this actually happened. So again, big conflict of interest. But I don't think many people in the crypto industry will say much because, like I said, he's already done so much for the industry as far as just taking the dogs off us, right? The dogs are being sick. Just as hey, he'll come back. Just bringing those war dogs off the throats of everyone in crypto, taking the SEC off, taking the IRS down a peg, taking the FDIC down a peg. Like CFTC had to take a step back. Doing all of that, I think, has bought him enough credit to where most of the industry is going to see this story and say what I said, kind of like, we know what's going on here, but nobody's probably going to push for anything. A, because they know they probably won't win anything. It'd be a waste of resources. And B, he's already done so much. It's like, don't pocket watch. So I don't know. It's definitely weird. But again, so much has been done from the industry. I think this will be one of the ones that will slide at least until Metaplanet starts making money. As soon as they make the money and they hit the news, oh, Reuters, AP, everybody's going to cover this story as far as what the F is going on, right? But in the short term, I think it's going to be a non-starter. There's too many people happy in the industry right now. Too much money has been made in the last 3 or 4 months for people to kick up a storm. If money hadn't been made, if the market hadn't been what it was since he's been elected or nominated, then I would think Eric Trump would like they would have pressed. Oh my God, this story would have been pressed down on hard, right? They would have been calling for the removal of the president. But since he's done so much, I think they're giving him a pass right now. It remains to be seen, but hey, this is you know what? Shout out to the Trump family. At least they didn't wait until their administration was about to end. They like, nah, we're gonna do this dirt early in front of everybody. Oh my goodness! Like, put my son over there right now. Like, shout out to the Lakers. Shout out to the Trump. Shout out to Metaplanet. I guess this is where we're at. We're taking this back to the feudal times. You got a son or daughter, just hire them. All right. They don't need to have any expertise or experience. They just need to be related to you. That is good enough these days. Let me check out the chat, see what y'all say. I know y'all going crazy in the chat. Cujo's SEC, hilarious. He gets paid. We all get paid. Fair exchange, right? And that's why, listen, that's why I'm not taking it as my normal rant and being like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I'm being, I'm keeping it, I'm keeping it even kill because it is one of those things where it's like, dang, like if I were Trump, I would look at the market and look at shows like this, like I'm feeding all y'all, can't feed my son. I'm like, all right, like it's some BS as long as we can admit and say publicly. It's some. I know he got 17 points against the Nuggets. I know he's looking a lot better. All right, he's learning as he goes. But it's other people who are ready to go right now. That's all I'm saying. What else do we have going on in the comments? Better get them big Groucho glasses on before flexing them eyebrows. You already know it. FBF, that's right. F Bitcoin Friday today. This is definitely a F Bitcoin Friday move. That's a strong pick. That's a get out of jail free card. I agree with you, Saber Saves. Maybe that's what the pick was. The pick was it. King. Metaplan's like King. We're not looking at this guy to do any business for us. We plan to do some illegal shit, and we need to make sure we got the president's son on our board before we do that illegal shit. Could you imagine they did like some public rug pull and even admitted to it? Like, yeah, so what? People get rug pulled every day. What are you gonna do about it? And then like everybody's calling for them to do a class action suit and everything. And it's like Eric Trump is leading the charge. It's like, yeah, that's not gonna work. What else? It is not immune to the general political economy. Um, Okay, we the people get distracted by the news. Take some time and try to understand Bitcoin, importance of mining nodes, proof of work, self custody, peer to peer, decentralization. You said it, Jake. You said it. Let's see. When will all this boomer slash Trump attention on crypto make it like Facebook when your grandparents joined? Time to jump ship. It is interesting, for sure. Like, yeah, you got a bunch of 80-year-olds talking crypto now, right? It is crazy to see that. This is it. I don't, good point. I don't know when it is going to be time to jump ship. That might be the beauty and power of Bitcoin, where it's literally going to be for everyone, like Facebook. And yes, you're going to get the old, young, smart, dumb, and everything else in between. And Cario said, I'm still waiting to thank them for all the Ethereum they told me to beg. Hilarious. That is true. All right. SEC says proof of work mining does not constitute securities dealing. That's right. The securities regulator has clarified its stance on so-called covered crypto assets and protocol mining involving public permissionless POW networks. The US SEC Division of Corporate Finance has clarified its views on proof of work mining, arguing that such activities do not constitute the offer and sale of securities as outlined in the Securities Act of 1933, so long as they meet certain criteria. Now, I will say this is a great thing for mining, but also I want to push back and say this. This is why I don't want to applaud any good legislation, quote unquote, because you're talking about legislation from laws from 1933. I've said it on the show before, and I'm not going to go back through the rant because it will definitely take me on a deep, dark rant. But there was so much negativity. And I'm not even going to say 1933. In 1970, there was so much negativity happening in America. So for you to say, yeah, we got a law, they're using a law from almost 100 years ago. Like, how can you use a law from 100 years ago, but the same people who are enforcing that law and are saying this is a real law and everything else won't admit to other wrongdoings or negative things from 100 years ago, right? Everyone said that was in the past. 100 years, the lynchings. Well, white people got lynched too, right? Everybody was getting lynched back then. Why are we talking about lynches? Why we? Yeah, well, because my grandpa's still alive. My grandpa's still alive. They came from Alabama, I believe, around the same time in the 30s, 40s to Detroit, Michigan, and Chicago for some of them as part of the Great Migration. A lot of black people left the South because it was too dangerous to live there, right? All this other rhetoric. I don't know if people talk about families were together, blah, blah, blah. Don't get me started. This was in the 30s. This was the 30s. And we're still using this same 30s law. Let me paint a picture. In the 30s, for one, if you're anything other than white or black, you don't even talk out loud. Let's be clear. America in the 30s, white, black, other, shut up. Let's be fair and clear about this, right? And then you get the whites telling the blacks, hey, your water fountain over there, your school over there, your set of laws are over there. Don't shake a white person's hand. Don't talk to them first. Don't say anything to a woman first, or we'll kill you. And no one will prosecute us, by the way. All of that happened, and we're able to say that's the past. Forget about it. All right, this is 2025. All right, everybody's getting along. We got Asian, we got Mexican, we got Arabic, but you're using a law from 1933 to prosecute people. Make it make sense. Like literally make it make sense. The laws are good enough to talk about and still use, but the history isn't good enough to talk about in schools. I don't understand it. I actually do. I'm being funny, but it's just the ridiculousness of all of this. In a March 20th statement, the SEC division addressed the mining of crypto assets that are intrinsically linked to the programmatic. I can't even talk right now. Programmatic functioning of a public permissionless network and determined that the decentralized POW networks should not be treated as security. So again, this is a big win for mining and POW, even though we shouldn't even have to discuss it since it's a 1933 law that has nothing to do with algorithms and programming and decentralized type of things, but whatever. They want to blanket laws and use it for this as well. They have finally come back. And you got to remember, before this administration, they weren't really saying this. They were saying, if you're mining, period. Bitcoin exception, but they weren't saying proof of work as a whole. Well, it looks like it is official unofficially that the SEC is saying, yes, if you're doing a decentralized proof of work network, we will not treat that as a security, even though they also say they're not treating XRP as a security or Ethereum, and that's essentially not doing your proof of work. But hey, whatever. We're just making this up as we go. All right, we're just spitballing here as a government. I get it. Uh, the good thing about this is that, hey, for any token that comes out that wants to continue doing proof of work, right? That wants to continue mining using electricity to mine tokens, they're saying this will not be looked at as a security. Now, again, the reason why I'm not a fair weather fan and I do not like them when they do good things like this or negative things is because if we celebrate this right now and say, oh, wow, yes, the SEC says proof of work isn't security anymore and we can move forward. And if you do a POW token, then yeah, you're good to go. You can trade, sell, whatever. That's only as good until the next person comes up with an arbitrary, subjective set of laws. So what I mean is, if the next administration is the polar opposite of this one, and there's a proof of work token outside of Bitcoin that's new and it does a crazy market cap. Let's say we get a new proof of work token and it does a $600 million market cap in the next year. I can guarantee the next administration will come in and say, "We never said that." Hell no. Proof of work, proof of stake, proof of whatever. Lakers in 5, all right? Like they are going to come in and be like, "We don't care what was said to you. We don't care. Is it? Let me see the writing. We see the Securities Act of 1933. We don't see the proof of work coin isn't a security act of 2025. I'm telling you, that's what we're going to do. So that's why I say it's officially, unofficially a thing right now, but it's only a thing until the next person comes and says no. And my thing is, if we celebrate it when they say yes, if we celebrate right now, SEC saying this is no longer a security and everything else, you can't be mad when literally in 3 or 4 years they come back and say we changed our mind. No, no, too many proof of work tokens have too big market caps and we're not getting our cut. We changed our mind. You can't say nothing when they come back and do that, which they will. Why? Because they just did it with the entire market. Bitcoin was fake. It was for criminals. It was for frauds. Everything like that. It was bananas were worth more of it. Next thing you know, all these same people have Bitcoin. They're talking about it's the future. They're trying to add barriers to entry. Oh, you're not allowed to get into the market. Wait, what? And it's like some people have been in the market before the people who are making rules about the market, but they're coming in making new rules about it. So again, this is a great story, a great news story as far as right now. Yes, if you have proof of work moving forward, so on and so forth. But also don't get caught up in the narratives. If you okay these type of stories, you can't say anything when they do the opposite. When they say, hey, it is no longer not a security, it is a security because they're doing these things overnight without any consensus or any vote. So it's kind of crazy to see, but this is how the system is systeming right now. They said, let's see, that woman, woman didn't get the vote until 1919. Man, listen, we can go back. It's so many crazy things. But again, we're gonna use that Securities Act of 1933. Like, what's even crazy is how do people in these rooms, I won't even say how, I know how they get the right people, but it's like, how do you even sit in a room and hear somebody talk about a Securities Act of 1933 and don't raise your hand and say, oh, yeah, should we not change this act or just make a new one or something like modernize this thing? Is this not weird to you all? But again, if you got a room full of, as they said, rent seeking yes men and women, that probably wouldn't happen. All right, last but not least, inside eccentric Ripple founders multi-billion-dollar space station plan, Mt. Gox and Ripple co-founder Jed McCaleb is looking to send his company's vast commercial space station Haven 1 into orbit and win a NASA contract in 2026. So essentially, it looks here the serial entrepreneur who founded the Mt. Gox crypto exchange and co-founded Ripple has shared new details about his ambitious space station company VAST, which he hopes will help expand the human race into a multi-planetary species. First and foremost, I'm not going to go super deep into the story, but just on the surface, one thing I want to say is the power of crypto has allowed someone to not only create a trading exchange, Mt. Gox, help form Ripple, but now they're segueing this into outer space. So, I mean, hand clap for the market to have the capital and the intelligence to move our species forward in these different technological ways. So, shout out to that. Second thing I want to say is this is why crypto is so important. One of the talking points I've had for years since I started this is that, a lot of people keep saying the next thing we're going to conquer, the next thing we're going to do is outer space. We're going to Mars, right? What Dave Chappelle said, Mars. Like, we're going to outer space. That's the goal. That's the future. Everyone's talking about space. There's movies about space. And one thing I've said for forever is if the space thing is going to be real, if we're going to go to a different planet one day, if we're going to have the ability to travel intergalactically, and I'm sure all this stuff actually exists, it's probably just technology to get there, right? We've already seen different planets and different universes essentially through Milky Ways and blah, blah, blah. But my point is, if we're going to do all that one day, we will not be taking cash and gold. Like, you won't take cash and gold into the space station. It's not going to, hold on, let me go make sure I got my bands and got my gold. Like, you're not taking all that heavy weight into the stratosphere. It's not happening. The only reasonable thing to go along with the next frontier of outer space and digital and everything, it will be a digital way of transacting. You will have to have your money on a cell phone or some type of digital ledger, hence Bitcoin. All right. So it's the fact that people in this space who have actively already created the earliest things, right? You created Exchange, Mt. Gox, you helped create Ripple, right? Cross-border payments using the technology of Bitcoin, essentially. You did a private Bitcoin, whatever, still. And now the same person saying, I'm talking about creating a space station going to outer space. Well, what are you going to use to barter and transact up there? If not Bitcoin, crypto, Ripple, right? That's what's going to be used. So I just want to add on to this that it makes sense. It already makes sense as far as where we're at and where we're going. Um, in a March 20 interview with Bloomberg, Jeb McCaleb confirmed that VAST is on track to launch Haven 1, a commercial space station still under construction, into orbit by May 2026. If Caleb startups succeeds, it will be better positioned to win a lucrative contract from the U.S. National Air, NASA, all right, to replace the International Space Station. Contracts are expected to be handed out mid 2026. If VAST fails or loses the NASA contract to a competitor, McCaleb could see $1 billion wiped out from his net worth, and his commercial future of his space station firm will be in doubt, according to a report. Now, I will say this. Um, I'll get this quote. There are not many folks who are willing to dedicate the amount of resources and time and risk tolerance that I am, McCaleb told Bloomberg. I agree. I will also say that if he fails, it's not going to be $1 billion loss. All right, let's be fair, first and foremost. If you have the ability to even put the pieces together to try to go to outer space, right? Let's say you don't even like forget not getting the contract, you can't even make it out there, whatever. All that is still technology to be used. So let's not go crazy. It won't be $1 billion loss, but I get what you're saying. It will be a huge personal loss for sure. Um, Also, the other thing is this. What do we say about billionaires all the time? Like they're not going in the wrong direction. We don't see many billionaires, if any. Let me know in the comments. Have we seen any billionaires go broke? Like, have we seen any billionaires lose all their money outside of the people who have scammed? Right? I'm not talking about the Bernie Madoffs of the world, the FTXs and all that stuff. Have we seen any legitimate billionaires who made their money legitimately go broke or lose out? Only reason I bring that point up is that I highly doubt that this billionaire who's already done Mount Gox, successful project, Ripple, successful project, and now trying to do a space station and win a government contract, I highly doubt they're going to go fully array and lose $1 billion, right? I think there will be some sort of success, even if they don't get the contract or go to outer space. They'll develop something else to say, oh man, like, all right, we didn't get the contract, we're not in outer space, but we just sped up transactions on this, or we just sped up nitro boosters on that. Like something will come out of it. So my point is, not only, yeah, while they may be eccentric, whatever, they're on the right track. They're trying to create the next thing. And if a crypto founder creates a space station, you better believe they'll be using crypto when they go to outer space. That is the next frontier. We're almost here. For people who still thinks this sounds like a dystopian or vast or faraway thing, I'm here to remind you. I use Waymo almost daily now. Self-driving cars, SDCs, autonomous vehicles, AVs, whatever you want to call them. I'm using it daily in LA now. It's not a this is happening right in front of us, folks. People aren't going to be driving in a few more years. The self-driving cars drive better than people in LA right now. It's happening. So if you don't think we're going into outer space, why do you think they're making this big news about these astronauts that are struck and how they just got stuck and they just got them back? Like they're doing it right in front of us. They're trying. It's taking a little while. I'll give it at least another 4 to 6 years or whatever at a minimum, especially now that I see how long it took crypto for people to really believe in Bitcoin and mass adopt that. I'll give it some years, but it's a happening, folks. The self-driving cars are happening. We're using digital payments for that. All it takes is for any self-driving car company. If Waymo right now were to say, hey, you guys can use your crypto, not just Apple Pay. Boom, nothing changes for me. I'm just clicking a different button on my phone. That is all it takes is for them to say you can click a different button. This is happening. Get ready, buckle up. F Bitcoin Friday. The future is bright. Trump said ain't no rules or no laws right now, so break as many as you can. Break stuff and make some money, people. All right, smash a like and share. Make sure you're on that notification bell and subscribe. And I